This episode is brought to you by Betting Jobs, a leading international recruitment provider to the iGaming sector. For more information, visit www.bettingjobs.com.
Revel in the failures, right? And if the data isn't what you were expecting it, understand why. And it's going well. We're in the 5th division in Cyprus, one of the toughest divisions in Europe. It's not a holiday camp, but we certainly do look after our people as best we can.
John, let's get straight to it. Incentive games known for their free-to-play, but you've added incentive studios recently. What's all that about?
Yeah, so we've been very lucky and blessed and fortunate that we sort of dominated the free-to-play business for so long, the last 4 or 5 years, and it just was a natural sort of way for us to go, is to evolve into incentive studios, a real money gaming studio. We're very selective of what we're doing, so it's not going into slots. We're doing crash and arcade style games, one of the fastest growing verticals. And we know that there's a lot of companies trying to emulate the success of Spribe, but we're taking a different tact, and we couldn't keep growing as where we were. We're sort of topped out as a free-to-play business. We're already with all the big providers, and really exciting. The last year or so, incentive studios were on the rise and looking to be the number one real money or crash and arcade game provider in regulated markets.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll come on to crash and arcade in a second, but why not slots? Too many slots already, or?
Well, it's a very saturated market. So we've got one of our big hitters, Ahmed Baker. He's our Chief Commercial Officer. And of course, he's been selling slots for the last 10, 15 years at NetEnt and Pragmatic Play. It feels to me, though, that our games can bridge the gap a lot easier between free-to-play and all the gamification stuff we do and all the sort of new and emerging games that we provide to go to crash and arcade. And we will probably eventually, do some slots, but it feels like it's almost like a dark art when it comes to slots. No one knows what's going to be success. So you could have a provider that's doing 4 or 5 games a month, and they don't know which is good.
Dark arts or guesswork, one of the two. yeah.
So and it's an exciting genre as well, and we see others just trying to copy the Spribe model. We're not. Our first games do, just a basic, rocket going up, but we wouldn't come into this space if we didn't have 6 or 7 USPs up our sleeve, which we're really excited about. And I think certification, the RNG, the RGS, all these things that you need to, the building blocks to that could eventually evolve into slots as well. But I think, you could have 3,000 slots providers out there with thousands and thousands of games every month. And if you look at, in a regulated market anyway, there's maybe 30 max crash and arcade games, and we launched in the UK with Bet365 a few weeks ago, and our first 3 games, which are sort of basic versions of our games, are all in the top 5 in that genre, so very happy with that.
You mentioned them a couple of times, Spribe. They have a particular crash game which is quite popular, which we all know about. What are your ambitions? Are you taking them on?
We are in the regulated market, so we're not going into India and some of those other markets. We have huge respect for them. I think they're a phenomenal business, a great company with great people, and a phenomenal CEO. We're more looking at US, Canada, UK, Europe, and Brazil. We're doing very well in Brazil and LATAM, but in those markets we're looking at IP. We're looking at different math models, bonus games, jackpot, all these sort of versions within the crash and arcade game. And I think our target is to be the number one in regulated markets in that genre.
Okay, fair enough. Time scale on that, or?
This year or next, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
As soon as that?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Crash games, not everyone's cup of tea, not necessarily favoured by people who are concerned about problem gambling and that sort of thing. Have you any moral qualms about that as a genre?
Well, all our partners are tier 1, right? So we get a phenomenal relationship with Bet365, FanDuel, all the top clients, and I know how well they look after their customers. They treat their customers like entertaining them like someone would if you're the owner of Netflix or one of those big entertainment companies. We always deal with the top clients, and I know them personally, a lot of them, and how well they respect their customers. And it's their business we can't take shortcuts on responsible gaming. So I'm more than comfortable with creating the right games because I know my partners are looking after the customer.
Fair enough. And the fact that they're all in regulated markets, as you say, answers its own question, hopefully, from a safeguarding point of view.
For sure.
Always been in just regulated markets, always going to be just in regulated markets. Is that a moral stance? Is it a business stance? Is it a bit both?
It's a business stance as well, right? Who knows what's going to happen in the future. We're here to build for the future, and we see some companies that started off in the grey and black and crypto.com sort of markets, and now they're trying to come into the regulated markets. And for me, it's a balance of, I'm the UBO as well, so I can't hide behind anything here, and I want to do things properly. I want to build a solid foundation of a company and the games and everything properly, and take no shortcuts. And I think that's the proper way to do it.
Yeah, makes sense. Let me be devil's advocate though. The addressable market within regulated markets, appreciate the likes of Brazil come on stream and what have you, but the UK, let's talk about our home market. With taxation and regulation, other markets are similar. It's going to be harder to make good money in those markets going forward. Does there come a point where you think, actually, I've got, I appreciate shareholders and you're one of them, or principal one, but is there an argument that says, well, you probably just have said it, but the change may come. This is where you are at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think in terms of we just got our launching Incentive Studios less than a year ago. We got our UK license, our Brazil license, we got our Michigan license, Ontario, I believe. We're going to be live in Quebec very soon, and Pennsylvania, New Jersey soon after. We also recently got our Maltese license, which allows us to serve some of the European companies. So as long as it's legal, we will be going into that market. Soon to be Portugal, Spain, Italy, and all those. There's plenty for us to go after, and I think as long as you can build games that can take market share or share of wallet of the slot games in the UK, that's still massive, right? So I think different operators have it positioned differently, but let's say an operator in Ontario, for example, at the start of the year last year, they had 2% share of wallet of Crash and 2% share of wallet on arcade versus slots. By the end of the year last year, 2025, that was 4% and 4%. So it's from a small base, but it's growing. And our belief is, our hypothesis is, if you're building games which have the features and all the bells and whistles that slots do, then the share of wallet will grow, and we will. There's a lot to be had in those regulated markets, even the UK, because there's a lot of companies trying to get more and more of the slot market, whereas the growth of the Crash and Arcade is growing, albeit from a small base, but if done properly. And I think what's been missing in that genre is, like, the UK, Europe, US and Canada, they're used to jackpots, bonus games, Vegas floor. They're not going to play a slot that's just got 3 reels with no bonus game. And that's why I believe that the Crash and Arcade games haven't really taken off in those markets, because it's very flat, it's very linear, and we're bringing in those extra elements that I'm really excited about. So in the next year or so, we've got a lot to growth in the regulated markets, at least.
It's a fair argument. I'll take it on board. You went straight in at the deep end with Incentive Studios because you've got some quite impressive IP that you've about to have launched with or about to launch with. Squid Games. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, we're fortunate to be really good partners with Light & Wonder. So we've got some of their amazing IP. So we've got one Crash game coming out for Light & Wonder called Red Light, Green Light, and we've got a Towers game which is called Glass Bridge. Really exciting about the IP in those really high regulated markets with a great partner. and I can't say too much, but probably more down the line. IP will only get you so far. I think IP will get people to trial the games, and incentive games, our background is free to play, so retention. We know how to retain the customers, but ultimately they need to stay for the underlying mechanic, the maths. It needs to feel rewarding enough. They need to feel engaged enough and entertained enough. And without those fundamentals, the IP would just be wasted, in my opinion. Yeah,
fair enough. Hopefully, unlike Squid Games, no one died in the making of this production. But
not yet.
IP, not yet. But IP can be quite tricky. And how have you found it? Working with the restrictions that come with IP. Has it been a smooth journey or less than?
It's slowed us down a little bit, but they've got hugely high standards, and as a fledgling studio, which we are, we obviously, my company's been going for 13 years, and we've got a great history in building games. It has been a bit of a learning curve, and I think we've learned a lot from it, where we can use that learning for our own IP and our own games. It has been a bit slower than we'd have liked, but it's great practices and phenomenal IP, and working with amazing people at Netflix, amazing people at Light and Wonder with extremely high standards, and then when you see the polished game, you're really proud of it. So it's been a tough learning curve, but we've appreciated it.
Worth the sweat and tears, yeah. Good. 13 years you mentioned, Incentive Games. Tell us about your origin story. How did you get into the industry 13 years ago?
So
if that was the start of it in the industry.
Yeah, it was. I was a chemical engineer in Trinidad and Tobago in 2012 or 2013, and I saw being in Trinidad, we saw the adverts for FanDuel in America, and for fantasy betting, and I was already writing algorithms to beat bookmakers, or trying to, and I was also betting on fantasy football for the season-long game. So I quit my job in Trinidad. I was a lead chemical engineer there, and I told my three best mates, Stuart Gove, who's now the CEO, still working in the company, and Andy Dakin and Johnny Wardman, who are silent partners now, and they're all engineers and mathematicians, and we started this fantasy football betting company with our own money, and it just snowballed from there. After a few years, we became the #1 app in the UK App Store with Premier Punt, and Victor Chandler got involved, and some other individuals, and helped us grow the brand organically. And we then shifted. We realised we could create viral products, but we weren't operators as such. So we pivoted to Incentive Games, which is what we all know today, which is about 6 or 7 years ago. And we went from strength to strength from there.
Was fantasy something that got away, or was it just you run its course and you decided to go into games instead?
We were seeing the way things were going, so we actually got our own sportsbook in the UK in 2018. We started upselling to sportsbook, and we could acquire a customer for £1 in the UK and upsell about 30%. So we were on our own platform. We could acquire a customer for sportsbook for about £3. Then we got our UK gambling online casino license, and we got a micro gaming white label, and we upsold about 10%. So we were, for £1 we were acquiring a fantasy user, and we're cross-selling to casino for about £10, and which was about 5 or 10% of the national average at the time. So that then propelled us to say, well, let's take this B2B, because all the big operators would love that sort of conversion funnel, and we did that very successfully. We launched Incentive Games, and we quickly became sort of the de facto, working with Bet365, FanDuel, Betway, and DafaBet, and all those big companies worldwide. It wasn't easy. It was very tough, and we were very, very lucky as well. I've seen this to you before, that very fortunate that we got the Bet365 deal and the FanDuel deal and the Betway deal and all those other ones, and we rode that wave for years, and we doubled down on it. We reinvested everything into the company, and it's been a good journey for us, but a lot of it is down to luck.
You say that, John, but You must have a good product though, because you and I will go to trade shows this year, and there will be suppliers who are desperate to work with, the Victor Chandlers of this world and the Bet365 and FanDuels and what have you. You don't get in there without having a good product, and I think I appreciate your modesty, but you must be proud of the products you produce.
From the science perspective, so because of my science background, we always built on a basis of results, retention, data, and working towards like being so pedantic about the retention numbers. When everyone's looking at acquisition, and you can see free to play is acquisition, we see Super Six, you see all these other games. One of the ones when we were always getting conflicted if we were pitching to companies, they would always say we'll just do it ourselves. Like, so that you're always fighting with, we can build it ourselves, or this other startup's got a game, or conflicting philosophies within the company, because CRM have got a philosophy, the acquisition guys have got a philosophy. So it was very tough, long journey, and yeah, we managed to sort of stay alive long enough. And I remember when we did pivot to free to play and B2B, it was for the 2018 Euros, and we'd sold all these games for the Euros, and it got cancelled.
It did.
It was the 2020, sorry.
Yeah,
COVID, yeah. And so it was a tough time, and I remember my wife saying to me, even you can't build games for when there's no football. And we did, so we built virtual games,
right? Virtual
betting games, real money games in Africa that performed really well. So it's like Man United versus Chelsea every 3 minutes, and we did it. Wrote these algorithms, going back to when I used to write algorithms to try to beat the bookmakers. So we survived through that, and I remember we had like 10 employees, no support from the government because we were a gambling company. Even though they helped FanDuel all those years. Mm-hmm. And made them one of the biggest companies in the world.
Another great Scottish success story.
Yeah, in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And then we were there, and we were getting nothing from the banks, nothing from the government. A proper startup, hiring all the local talent, and we still do. And we felt, I personally felt like they turned their back on us a bit. So we had to grind ourselves and had to sell personal assets to keep the staff, because I believed in when football does come back, we did have something special, and we did. But again, harks back to the story about, J.K. Rowling asking 200 publishers to publish a book, or Starbucks, or any of these successful companies. But you don't hear about all the ones that were very talented, very good companies that failed because they ran out of runway.
Yeah.
And we just got there. So when the football came back, we had all these contracts, and thankfully we survived long enough to sort of take off, and then double down on the product, double down on our people, and it's paid off, certainly in the incentive games world, and now we're using all that resource and all that experience for incentive studios.
So you talked about a bit about the history of the company there and how you sort of developed as to who you are today. I think I'm right in saying that you bootstrapped quite a lot of it early on, and friends and family invested and what have you, but you did mention Victor Chandler, the legendary Victor Chandler. He's quite a character in the industry for sure, and quite a coup getting him on board, I should imagine.
It was a bit like, I remember we saw an article on one of my other investors, Victor Pronk, prompted me to see an article that he'd come out of his non-exclusivity deal with BetVictor, and he started BetLion, and we saw an article on it, and I just contacted him on LinkedIn and saying, look, we've got this idea for a fantasy football betting company, and it was almost like X Factor. So you get on LinkedIn, he'll agree for a phone call with you. I passed that. He passed me on to one of his colleagues to screen me, and then I got to go and meet him in his house, and then it carried on from there. And he's a gentleman. He's mentored me for years, and to this day we speak most days. And it was a big reputational gain for me to work with someone so prestigious like that. And we were all engineers, maths guys. We didn't know the industry, so he connected us. He was the one to say, let's do B2B when we were B2C at the time. So
you mentioned LinkedIn. So I came across you, as many people have done, on LinkedIn. And it's fair to say, John, you've got quite an interesting character on LinkedIn. And, having met you now a few times, you're a funny guy, and so is your personality on LinkedIn. But there's a secret there as well, isn't there? That not everyone will necessarily know because you don't write it.
Yes, I do now, but I didn't at the start. I did at the start, I didn't in the middle, and I do now. It is a bit of a personality, a persona, sorry. We didn't have any marketing budget when we went B2B, and I thought, who could we get that's like the best in the world at getting attention and being funny? I do have a bit of a sense of humour, but I'm not as funny as some of my posts suggest. And so I thought, well, why don't we get the guy that writes the Paddy Power adverts? Whoever does that is amazing. So at the time, Lee Price was the head of mischief at Paddy Power, and I was like, let's see if we can get Lee to work with us on a contractual basis. And over the years, he's been a big mentor for me as well, and helped me write my posts. And he's a really funny writer. But again, when this persona of me, and basically was, we didn't have any marketing budget, and we weren't going to spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands on a stand at ice. And what we did is we just worked with Lee to gain people's attention on LinkedIn, and it was always the right people that were in the industry, and that helped sort of the snowball effect. And sometimes embarrassing because a lot of stuff there is just, well, much of it is tongue in cheek, and people expect a certain personality from me, and then when they see me, I'm a little bit different. I remember I turned up, I wouldn't say a client's box in Cheltenham a year ago, and the managing director of this big company in the UK was like, I was actually nervous to meet you because you're not as abrasive, or whatever it is your personality is online. And I'm like, it's not me. So we did it to sort of gain attention. We did it to hopefully I'm not busting too many people's bubbles when they see my post and thinking I'm actually like that. I'm not.
From a marketing point of view, I absolutely love it. I mean, but interestingly enough, I've had, we've written some ourselves, but I know plenty of CEOs and C-levels who will have posts written for them to make them more corporate. You've taken the exact opposite approach. Has it ever backfired? I mean, obviously you talked about Cheltenham there, but has anyone ever gone, I'm not working with him?
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, my the rest of my exec team are quite conservative Scottish guys, and even though we're friends for 20 odd years, they're like, is it not, have we got more to lose than gain here? And I quite like it, because I'm like, we're not corporate, we build great products, we've got great engineers, all data scientists and everything. I think if we're not offensive, we're just trying to get attention, and I think we can't second guess every post, and I certainly don't. The stuff I put out there is a bit of a laugh, and we do have people that manage the page, and
do they sense check it with you first, or does it just go
I
out?
mean, a lot of the time I'm just drunk playing the guitar, and I'll just post it myself.
We talked about persona and personality online, obviously in that case, but you come across as a very laid back guy, a nice guy. Can you always be a nice guy when you're CEO of a company, or does it make it easier or harder when you're a nice guy to make difficult decisions?
No, I think we've had it really good, and again, I know it's down a lot because we've got a good product and got good people, but last year 2025 was really tough. We had a lot of things that didn't go our way independently, and that's when you realise how much luck is involved in it, because we had 4 or 5 things that completely independent, outside our control, that went against us, and it was like the perfect storm when we talk about engineering, and we had some tough decisions to make, and we had some restructuring, and it's actually great for us now in terms of the long run, but sometimes you need to make some tough decisions and do what you need to do, but and not just keep growing and growing and growing in this world of AI and everything, you need to be efficient, and we're a very efficient company. But no, we do a 4-day week, and it's not like a holiday camp. It is a place where you utter respect. You trust the individual that reports to you, and we have autonomy. But as soon as someone's not performing, as soon as someone is slacking off or something, you know about it, because we are a small team. efficient team. So and sometimes you do need to sort of make some tough decisions as a CEO, and that's again when you're back in the, and you get, instead of headwinds, you're back in the sort of slipstream, and things are going your way phenomenally again, or everything seems to be working again. That's when you know, it is down to luck, and a lot of it, and we need to be grateful for it, and more thankful for the times when things are good. And yeah, there's been times where we've had to let some people go. Doing a 4-day week, no one typically leaves, so you need to sort of make sure that we've got the highest of standards as engineers, and always keep that standards. And if you perform with our company, we'll do everything to look after you. And I think I remember I was up for an Entrepreneur of the Year award in Edinburgh, and I'm not bothered by that sort of thing, but one of the judges was sort of calling me out for sort of ruining the economy for doing a 4-day week. And I was like, you don't know what we're doing. It's like, I'm in a software company, a tech company. It's about retaining the right people for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, keeping that experience, making sure the output, the quality of the output, we do such a niche thing that no one else is really doing. And if they've been with my company for 5 years, no one can really compete with that. So it's not a holiday camp, but we certainly do look after our people as best we can, and that's the ethos from Stuart, my COO. Stuart Gove, phenomenal at looking after the people, and yeah, sometimes there's tough conversations, but ultimately, we're a business, and we're trying to thrive and look after everyone as best we can.
How long ago did you implement the 4-day week? What was the thinking behind it, and how has it been received both internally and externally?
Yeah, so about like 2 years ago, we were struggling to compete with Crypto.com, with Google, with Amazon. So everyone was remote, all the great software engineers, and we couldn't pay 250 grand a month, or a year, salaries. So what we did is we looked like, okay, we've got some phenomenal engineers in Edinburgh and the surrounding areas. Let's double down on that. Let's keep them and look after them, and hire a lot of graduates and train them up and train them in this way. So what we were quite good at is the top of the top people are all gambling specialists. So myself, Amy, my chief product owner, Mike was at OpenBet for 15 years, my CTO, and then we train everyone else up based on that. So the kids, in Edinburgh, you can get them from the banking sector, for example. It was not as exciting, but then we keep them with looking after them properly. And it was a bit of a gamble. It was a bit out there, and it's worked. And my investors are phenomenal as well. So they trust our decision, and we'll see how it pans out. And it's panned out very well, because we've got phenomenal people that work for us. And sometimes we still have 24-hour support. So we're a software company. If our games go down, there's 1, 2, 3 levels of support. And we are very output driven company as well. So if we've got a game for the World Cup, or 12 games, we will deliver those games unequivocal. It's getting delivered. But at the same time, we hire more people so half the company is off on a Monday, half is off on a Friday. So we had to hire more people to make sure that we're always covered. But we've been doing this company for 13 years, and I think at the time, before we implemented it, some of the myself included, were doing 6 days a week, and it's just not sustainable. And we're a private company. We're here for the long term, and we're not trying to hit some KPIs to sell. So the only way to do that sustainably was to look after the people, make sure they've got enough time with their kids and their family, and they want to work for my company for as long as we're here.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of work-life balances, you obviously moved to Cyprus semi-recently. How are you missing the Scottish winters?
Yeah. It's good. It's nice in Cyprus. My wife was born there, and there's a lot of gambling industry in Cyprus, but I'm on the west coast, and when I'm there, I'm sort of out the way with my family. I do a lot of travelling anyway, and 90% of the guys are in Edinburgh, so I come back every month and see them. It is a bit of a change, but it's it's been working well so far, and the team are thriving again, which is good. So
What, because you're not there?
yeah, yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
You have invested in a Cypriot football team. They do say that the quickest way to become a millionaire is to be a billionaire and buy a football team. I don't know if you were ever a billionaire, it's none of my business. But how did that come about, and are you enjoying the journey so far?
Yeah, it's been good. I've always wanted to buy a team, own a team. I played my whole life, and now I'm in my 40s, my early 40s. I've thought, like, now my playing days are over, it'd be good to buy a team, and it's going well. We're in the 5th division in Cyprus, one of the toughest divisions in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is actually tougher than I thought. So we've got some really good players. We're trying to do things properly, getting promoted through the leagues, and one day get Armo FC to Europe.
Right.
In the 1st division. So we've got Paphos FC that are there, that about 5 or 6 years ago they were bankrupt. They're now in the Champions League with David Luiz, and I think the countries like Kazakhstan or Cyprus or Gibraltar or other countries like that, there is a sort of soft underbelly to get, maybe not Champions League, but different leagues and competitions in Europe.
Yeah.
And that's what we're sort of aiming for. I'm there for the long term. I want to do a project where we sort of grassroots take them all the way to some dizzy heights.
Yeah, amazing. Were you inspired by the Wrexham model, or how did this come about?
Yeah, you saw in the UK, you see the Salford model, you see Wrexham, and I think people, there's BAM FC in Greece, and there's an example in Kenya where the guys are trying to take a team from 5th division to the 1st division, and these days with corporate football being so too much money in it, and I think semi pro football and amateur football and not quite top Premier League football, there's a lot of attention there and a lot of enthusiasm there, when it's not about the money, it's about the passion and the journey. We're fortunate to have been sponsored by some of the amazing companies in the gambling industry. So we've got Conduit AI, we've got Extreme Push, we've got Higher Stakes, Digital Footprint, Segev Law, and Transact. So it's like they've backed us from day one, and really appreciate it. And it shows how amazing this gaming industry is. It's like people that back you and that trust you, their friends and families, and it's been phenomenal. So I just appreciate being part of this amazing industry.
So what's more likely then, your Cypriot football team gets European football or Scotland win the World Cup?
Both. I'm pretty hopeful for Scotland. Just good to get there.
Are you going?
I'll be going. And I think one or two of those sponsors are going to help me get a ticket there as well.
Excellent. You do like a top football match, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Seen you on a few posts on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, let's move from football to music, because we always finish these podcasts with 3 quickfire answers. If I was to put you on the spot and you had to name a favourite singer or band, who would they be?
Alex Turner, Arctic Monkeys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, you're a big Arctic Monkeys fan.
Yeah.
It's basically so Oasis for some reason. I don't know why.
It's cut between the two. When I was doing some cover band stuff with the guys about 15 years ago, we'd flirted with the Arctic Monkeys sort of.
Oh, okay, I like it.
Cover
Reference.
bands,
Yeah.
cover band stuff, and we did a lot of cover bands for the Strokes and Arctic Monkeys, Oasis. But yeah, I think AM just shaded for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. And in terms of a last meal, as a Scottish football fan, presumably it's going to be Scotch pie, is it? Or
I don't want to be too cliche, probably fish and chips.
Right, no,
Very
fair
basic.
enough. Nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Yeah.
And slightly more seriously, if you had one piece of advice for the next generation of iGaming executives, what would that be?
I think just focus on the detail, like the where everybody's looking for the big numbers on acquisition. Look at retention, and look, if there's some data in there that you're uncomfortable looking at, revel in the failures, right? And if the data isn't what you were expecting it, understand why, and do the focus groups. Do understand why the users are acting a certain way to your product. Don't just shy away from it. Don't pretend it's success if it's not. Understand it properly.
Good advice, John. I wish you well for not only Incentive Studios but also Scotland and your Cypriot team as well. Go well.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.